Yeah, hi. This is Dennis from Affiance.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for taking the time to call me to talk about everything that's going on in the world of Affiance right now. I've gotten to check out the new EP, which I gotta say is some very fantastic stuff from you guys. What went into making this EP?
Well, I guess from a business standpoint, we had just fulfilled our contract with Bulletproof Records, so we had to decide whether or not we were going to try and shop and sign to another label or release by ourselves. And then when we decided to do an independent release, we were like, well, an EP is less intimidating, so we went with we kind of met in the middle with a 7-song EP, and we just decided to nail one out and own it and crowdfund it.
Yeah, it was very cool to see that that many people went out and supported you to be able to make something from it as well.
Yeah, it's awesome to see everybody come out and support it, and it actually ended up performing. It had the best first week of any of our releases, so it kind of felt really cool being able to do that independently.
Oh, that is so fantastic to hear too, because sometimes you hear about the horror stories about crowdsourcing where you're not getting any money at all, and sometimes you see the humongous crowdsourcing like from Protest the Hero where you'll get unimaginable amounts of fans supporting you, but it's great to be able to see that you guys have been able to record the EP and show that you do have a very solid fan base that wants you to keep going.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, we raised just over 17,000, and it ended up not being enough. Even like, it was crazy how fast the money goes. It's so insane how expensive everything is.
Yeah. Yeah, I was
and
gonna
then
say
you got a band like Protest. They raised 340,000, and back when that happened, I remember thinking, man, they all just made like 50 grand each, and it's like, no way. They all might have given themselves a bonus of a couple grand, but there's no way they didn't put all that money into everything at the level that they're at. Because the bigger the band, the more you've got to spend.
Oh, it's so very true, because a lot of people don't realize that until they actually go to the studio, how much it costs to set up the drums and get a good drum room, to get the right sounds, to get the right producer, everything that goes into making an album, mixing, mastering, all of that stuff.
Yeah, well, we really lucked out on the cost of that. Where we really went through money fast was just the standard marketing. Like, these labels like Rise Records or Fearless or Epitaph, they have these really long existing relationships with media outlets, so they get bottom line pricing on advertising, and we're just an independent, essentially one-off. If we hit up any magazine or online marketing firm, we're paying standard price. So we essentially have less bang for our buck when it comes to marketing, and then we relied on Facebook ads, stuff like that, and it just goes so fast.
Yeah, that's definitely another thing that you never really think about when you're first starting off in a band, and once you start picking up momentum, that's when you really start to notice it with advertising. Just to be able to see, just to be seen on social media alone, like you mentioned with Facebook, where you have to pay for sponsored posts just so fans who even like your page are even able to see the content that you post.
Yeah. I remember a couple years ago when our album, The Campaign, was coming out, I could have posted anything on our Facebook page, and it would be seen by a third to half of our total fan base. And now I'll post something and pay $100, and not even a third of our fan base will see it.
No, it's absolutely not fair how they're doing that, but again, with the crowdsourcing, it does show that the fan base is still there for you guys, wanting you to go out and going outside of social media to go the crowdsourcing route to be able to help you guys out.
Yeah, definitely.
So getting into the EP, what went into the songwriting for the EP?
Well, musically, we knew that we wanted, the common theme with us is every release gets a little bit heavier in our own way. And this time, I think I was the main thing that got heavier, for one. I scream and yell more, and I knew I wanted to do that. But then I also wanted to sing. I just wanted to change it up and do as much vocally as I could. Soft singing, pitched yell singing, screaming. I just knew I wanted to do that. And, after 3 full length kind of establishing your own sound and whatnot, you get bored doing the same thing. So I was like, I want to just try this stuff. So that was, at least from my point of view, that was my main thing. But lyrically and message-wise, it's a typical Affiance, critical thinking, wake up, red pill, blue pill type thing. Just more focused on, since it's 7 songs, it's easier to be like, all right, this is about the general theme, and this one's about how we're destroying the earth, how our generation, the millennials, if you will, it's on our shoulders, honestly. Like, we're either gonna fix it or we're gonna bury it. And that's kind of the overall general theme of the EP, lyrically.
Yeah, I definitely got that vibe about it. The more I listen to it, the more that I hear, it's basically just like a call of action to hopefully wake up people to actually do something about the earth right now, whether it be politically or for the environment or whatever the case is, because there is so much drama and trauma that's going on in the world right now, and hopefully the world will be able to wake up and make this world a better place again.
Yeah, I mean, everything's cyclical and whatnot. It's just, I don't know, things are weird right now. They're a lot of things are coming to boil that haven't been talked about for a decade. It's kind of like the 60s 2.0.
Yeah, that's actually a good way of putting it, too, because it does kind of feel like it's on the verge of something huge happening, whether it be positive or negative, is yet to be fully shown yet. But, I mean, hopefully, for our sake, it will be more in the positive route to get people inspired to make things better.
Right.
So, of course, you guys just got done with a headlining tour that actually ended in Burnsville, Minnesota, which is about 10 minutes from where I live. How did the tour go?
Honestly, the tour didn't do as well as we had hoped. Because I got really sick. I had strep throat. I had a really bad fever. But I mean, it was fun and whatnot. It just wasn't. I think that was something that suffered in the promotion thing. The EP did well, and we promoted the heck out of the EP and the music video, and then we kind of, because there's only 4 of us, we didn't push the tour as hard as we normally would have because we were so concerned with the new EP. So what we found was, especially the first half of the tour, because there was less lead time, we found that some of those dates had suffered, and a lot of our fans had no idea we were coming to their town, and so the shows weren't as big as we had hoped. But there's a lot of factors that go into the success of shows on a tour. Promoters, venues, what's going on that night, how many tours are you competing with? Because March is a really busy month. Every band's on tour in March, so it's kind of the luck of the draw, I guess. And we've been headlining so much because we've been more of a DIY independent band, or we didn't have an agent that was well connected or whatnot, that it's we've had to do a lot of small tours. We call them pound and grind tours, where you just kind of, some of the shows will be good, some of them will be bad, and you just got to do it,
Yeah, in 2016, that is a very realistic kind of thing for a lot of bands, especially in the DIY situation, where sometimes, again, going back to social media, not being able to see if you guys are even touring unless you do the highest amount of like sponsored posts so everyone can see it. And again, it goes down to the local end of it too, which I feel bad about, because until I saw this come up to be able to do an interview with you, I had no idea that you guys were in Minnesota. And I feel really bad about that, because I would have loved to have seen you guys had I known about it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, but I mean, that's a perfect example. I mean, I would say that more than half of our fans don't know what's going on at any given time, because there's just so much. There's such an oversaturation of bands in our genre, whether they're good or not, doesn't matter. I mean, there's just a lot of bands in that Warped Tour, Mayhem, All Stars, Summer Slaughter circuit. And the bigger bands are going to get more attention because their respective teams have more money to invest market. and unless you're on one of those tour support bands, it's really hard, And that's what we're trying really hard to focus on the rest of the year. Is we don't want to headline, not because we're not willing to work. But honestly, we've followed Warped Tour, we've stood outside, hustle DVDs, we've headlined, we've done everything, absolutely everything we can at the DIY independent level, and we have a fan base, and they honestly our fans deserve to see us on a bigger stage with bands that they also like and have looked up to, like your August Burn Breads and Memphis Mayfire, Architect, whoever it may be. We're always getting hit up by our fans like, oh, you deserve to be on a bigger tour. I want to come see you play with this band, or this would be my dream tour. You should tour Periphery, or whatever the case. And we're at a point now where I just think fans that.
And definitely for you guys too, being able to make it on a tour like that. Pushing your nose to the grindstone with doing these headlining shows and being in the game for so long, it would be great to be able to see that pay off, whether the right band asks you to open for a North American tour and then it brings the spotlight back to you guys again. I definitely think at this point it should be happening.
Well, I hope. I really, really hope. I'm actually working on something right now. It's funny when you've been around long enough, and some of the people that used to be a fan, I can say right now that there's at least a half a dozen to a dozen people that were Affiance fans, and now they're in bands that are bigger than us.
It's cool for them.
If not bigger than, at least they have more going on as far as opportunities and whatnot. But so I reached out to one of them last night and I was like, dude, man, anything else? Can you pull some strings? He's just like, dude, I'll do everything I can. You deserve it. I'll do what I can, and it's cool that there's people lobbying for us, but it's also kind of dang,
Oh yeah. It's also great to see that a band that you were friends with and you inspired are able to still help you guys out and not feel that they're above you in any way. They still want to help out the people that inspired them to play. That's a cool thing to see.
Yeah, and I hope also there's a couple situations that I think could work out. And I view this year a lot like the year we went out with Killswitch and KROCKS. The only difference is we're not signed, and the opportunities of where we can go after this is endless. Where, we actually got offered a record deal. I can talk about stuff. So we got offered a record deal, Razor and Pie, when we were on tour with Killswitch. But we were already locked in for another album with Bulletproof, and we had these opportunities flying left and right. We thought all this crazy stuff was going to happen, but long story short, you're in a legally binding contract, and we weren't going anywhere. And then so all the hype and fan building of 2013 just kind of fizzled away politically, and as far as music industry goes. And, we still had the fans, but the opportunity stopped coming, and it's kind of, we're back to that DIY pound and grind level again, So I really view this year as all right, look, we did everything right, busted our ass, our fans are really happy with product, let's take this to the bank, let's build a team so that we can grow and keep this machine sustainable and tour the world. Because at this point, I really want to get us to Australia, I want to go to Japan, I want to go back to Europe. We have fans there, and I know they love what we're doing, the whole melodic heavy thing, because those places love that.
Oh, very much so. As big of fans as North America can have, I know the rest of the world is very much more into the music than North America could ever be, especially for places that love metal like Europe and Japan, being able to hit those places and show off everything that Affiance has.
Yeah.
I would imagine, with all of the struggles that are currently going on, for the next time that you guys get into songwriting mode, I imagine there's got to be a lot of inspiration to be able to put out another killer album, being able to have all this. Does that inspire anything lyrically for you?
Oh, it always has. It inspired Gaia. We've never had it easy. Have you ever read, are you into sports at all?
Yeah, being from Minnesota, I definitely keep up on the sports side.
Okay, so thank you for K-Love, by the way. So I'm a diehard Cavs fan, and I hated LeBron when he left, big time. Totally hate him. On stage in Miami with Gage, I said, fuck LeBron James and the Miami Heat. So I had a friend whose sister teaches his kids. I knew like 2 weeks before he came back that he was coming back. And I was like, oh no, like we sold out. We're taking him back. And I was okay. I was like, I'm going to have to boycott the NBA. And I played basketball in high school. Like, this is a big deal. I love basketball. Die-hard Cavs fan. And I was ready to boycott the NBA. And then on my birthday, 2 years ago, he releases that whole letter, that like apology explanation thing. And at the very end, he said, you know, in Northeast Ohio, nothing is given, everything is earned. And that's like it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like LeBron James, like the LeBron James is saying the exact same thing that I would say to you in an interview. Like there's just something about being from here where you just eat a lot more shit than anyone else. And everything takes just a little bit more time and a little bit more work and a little bit more scrubbing or polishing. And even for that guy, it does too. You know, he went down to Miami and got a quick couple rings, came back, and it's like fighting tooth and nail with technically a better team to win. You know, it's just like, it seems like everything here is just a little harder, and that's how it has been for us. And I think the thing about all that is our work ethic and our dedication and whatnot. We're just equipped to deal with more than most other bands, most other people, and we can persevere through more bullshit and problem solve really well, you know?
Yeah.
So, but like,
No, I was just gonna say, like, with all the trials and tribulations of being in a metal band, I mean, you basically have to be able to learn how to survive, how to persevere, and be able to make it to that next level, because otherwise, bands start to fall apart, whether it's just because social media doesn't get to check out what you're doing, or just the style of music that's popular falls to the wayside and people stop caring. But if you stay true to what you're doing and you truly put out the music that you do care about, it does eventually pay off, hopefully, in the long run.
Yeah, and I know it will, and I know that, you know, there's still some tricks up our sleeve that we haven't done. I'm actually going to be starting a podcast very, very soon. And since we're a political band, I think a lot of our fans are going to dive in and be very interested in what I have to say, and having guests talk about music and the world and everything. And it'll be a little goofy. And that's a thing. Like, you know, my friend Levi and Miss May I, he just started, I think it's called a Twitch channel.
Oh, yeah.
Where you, like, play games and talk about games and stuff. Like, the lead singer of Miss May I can't just be the lead singer. He's got to be 7 things. And so do I. Like, that's just the world we live in now. Everything is short attention spans, and you got to have your hand in everything. You got to have a YouTube channel. You got to have this. You got to have that. So, like, coming to terms with that and realizing that it's all a part of the game of staying relevant and being in people's ears or on their news feed, you know, it's frustrating, but at the same time, it's like, you got to do what you got to do. So I'm going to try and find things that I love, like talking, and make that accessible to our fans, and hopefully that pays off. Hopefully that gains even more loyalty and can reach an audience that we otherwise wouldn't have.
Yeah, I mean, that would be really cool to be able to check that out. I mean, as much as I listen to music when I'm not focusing on music for my radio show or reviews or going to shows, I love listening to people talk on podcasts and radio shows, because I get to hear different insights that are maybe not necessarily my own or ones that I can agree with. But I like hearing things that are music related, but being able to just hear like all of the outside stuff that's going around the world right now. And that definitely sounds like a really cool idea that you got going on for a podcast. Is there like any date for when that starts yet, or is that still in the works?
I'd love to say that, but I don't have all my ducks in order. I'm just trying to get everything I need together and get it started as soon as possible, and then editing it. And then once I have that, I'll be like, all right, cool, I'll launch it.
Oh, very cool. I mean, once it does, I would definitely love to be able to check that out, because I'm very curious to see what would happen with a podcast that comes from you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm ready to kind of get my feet wet in it and just jump in and do it, you know?
Oh, absolutely. So with the new album or the new EP being out, have you had any chance to listen to any new music that's come out in 2016?
Yeah. New Kill Switch, new After the Burial, the 2 new singles from Architects, which this is going to be their best CD yet, I think. I literally have been listening to Gone with the Wind by Architects on repeat. The emotion in that song is just nailed, and I really want to tour with that band again, because we're singing essentially about the same stuff. The new After the Burial is really good. I actually became a fan of them on their last album, and my favorite song by them was Disconnect. Still is. But But now when I listen to that song, it kind of messes with me just because of everything that happened. I just kind of think about the lyrics, and then I think about their guitarist, and it's like heavy.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Of course, being in the Twin Cities, it definitely had an impact, not just for the music area around here, but like everyone locally too that is attached to the Twin Cities local scene here. Just like it just got so dark when all of that happened, but as soon as the band was able to come out with their new album, just being able to see that they're going to persevere the way that they did, and hopefully they're going to be able to keep the same emotions and mentality going from here on out.
Yeah. But yeah, those are the ones that come to mind right now. But I check out music as much as I can. I definitely don't listen to as much as I used to, but just because I'm so consumed with my own or whatever. But definitely, there's some good stuff. I just really hope people keep supporting metal, because I'm just seeing a trend of I don't know, like kind of a fading scene a little bit.
I'm really seeing that too, especially again, I keep going back to the social media aspect of it, but when you got things like Instagram where you can only see like a 15-second video, or Snapchat where it's 10-second video or something like that, people, when it comes to music, they don't want to necessarily hear like a 3 or 4 minute long song, which used to just be a normal radio single length. That feels too long to them. So I would like to think at some point the attention span will come back to hear more than just like little snippets of stuff, and being able to check out everything that someone does, whether it's in metal or music in general or just anything in general, really.
Well, I think there's something deeper going on too. There's something to be said about separating what attracts people to sound and music and genres, bands, and etc. Of course, you've got the foundation of it all, which is the music. And then you ask yourself, why do these people like this? Okay, well, people like pop punk because it's fun and it's a good time. People like metal because it's kind of dramatic in a way. There's a lot going on. There's, it's not simple. Some people like metal simply because it's heavy and they're angry. And that's a whole nother thing, though. Because if you like metal because it's heavy and it's angry, then there's certainly other things that are going to satisfy that. So do you truly love metal is the question. And then that whole group grows out of it and whatnot. So I don't know. I analyze things, but if a band just writes really, really heavy songs and there's not much musicality, there's not much melody to keep the listener around, or people throw the word timeless around. Is it timeless? It's like if you can listen to a song and enjoy it and think it's incredible 20 years later, then that's a great song. But if you're just writing something that's really, really angry, or really, really heavy or whatever, or it's not melodic, then it has a shelf life. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Well, it definitely makes a lot of sense. I at least know with me when I'm searching for music, there's got to be something that just captures it to me more than just being heavy, because if you're just looking for something heavy, there's plenty of bands that do very similar sounding music that maybe you won't even be able to necessarily tell what band is doing what song. So for me, I always try to look for something that stands out, whether it's a vocal melody or instrumental bridge or something like that, to make it stand out, to make you want to go back and listen to it. And like you said, 20 years later, you throw that song on and you still enjoy it. That's the kind of music I always try to search for.
Yeah, and it's coming to terms with understanding that you're dealing with social scenes that are changing and growing and shrinking based on high school bullshit. that I'm so removed from and I don't understand anymore. So pop punk's big right now because it's cool, and then it won't be cool anymore. I remember when Primo and Emo was cool, but it was also back then when Emo and Primo was big. Like, it wasn't like the jocks didn't listen to it. There was a separation between like the preppies and the jocks and the cool kids, and then like the underground kids. Now you've got the football player listening to the Wonder Years, and it's just like it's a different time. Everything kind of mishmashed together, which is good in a way, but it's just weird to see. I don't know. Old man Denny thoughts, I guess.
Well, I do get it. I mean, with things like YouTube and Spotify and iTunes Music and all the different streaming services that are out there right now, hundreds upon thousands, if not millions, of bands and styles of music are out there for people to check out. And if they just hear like one thing in their car listening to the radio or something like that, and then they want to go out and they find these other bands or songs or whatever it is, people, I guess, aren't necessarily afraid to listen to stuff that wasn't necessarily cool a couple years ago, but then again, with the trends again, that might change in a couple years, where pop punk's not the coolest genre out there, and it could be entirely something different as well.
Right. It just bums me out that it's got to be cool or not cool. It's just, it's the music, and if you like it, listen to it, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I've never been afraid of being uncool. I always just listen to the music that actually means something to me, whether it's lyrically or musically or the entire song altogether. Music shouldn't make you cool or uncool. It's just whether the music speaks to you or not.
Right.
So getting back into the music of Affiance, of course, with the new EP being out, was there anything written that wasn't on the EP, or has there been any new songwriting for the next release?
Yeah, there's some stuff. I don't know what's gonna last, what's not gonna last, but I mean, we had enough raw material to do a full length. But I don't know if we're gonna move forward with any of the songs. I know there's one that we all kind of like, but the other, like 2 or 3, we might just take bits from or something.
Would it be too early to say what the kind of style that it's going into? I mean, would it be something that you would hear on the EP, or is it heavier, lighter, anything like that?
I think it's safe to say that the EP is setting the tone of the direction we're going. So the EP is kind of like the middle of the road of how future stuff is going to sound, and we're going to go lighter on some songs, and we're going to go simpler on some songs, but then we're also going to be more technical and complicated on others. I think there's just going to be a wider dynamic. I'm not afraid to do a 1-minute song, and I'm also not afraid to do another 8-minute song like we did a couple albums ago. I want a lot of variety on whatever we do next, and I want it to be, there's going to be like 3 or 4 songs that fit that normal mold, and then the rest I just want it to be like a blank canvas and do whatever the hell we want.
Oh, that's so very cool to be able to hear that you guys are not afraid of showing your diversity. And getting back into the beginning of the interview where you mentioned, of course, on the new EP, you're starting to show more of your screaming side as well. Does it feel comfortable to you at this point, doing the screaming as well as the singing?
Yeah, it just depends on the song, actually. So, like, Persevere and Reboot are, they feel really, really natural. Hollow Empire doesn't, to me, like, doing it live. Knowing feels good. Yeah, it just depends. I'm kind of learning what's doable live and what not. And, it's all about breathing. And, interestingly enough, it's easier to scream than it is sing. Like, air-wise. It takes less air to make a lot of the screaming noises than it does to sing the way that I sing, as powerfully as I do. And I think that's the reason why I couldn't scream for a long time very well, was because I would go to scream with the same power that I sing, and then it would sound really cool sometimes, or it would sound extremely breathy and gappy, and then I would blow my voice out, because you can't scream like that.
Oh yeah, just like you said, I mean, with the breathing technique, your throat, your diaphragm, there's so much difference that a lot of people don't seem to realize until they actually go out and do it between the singing and the screaming. I mean, it's 2 completely different animals.
Right. Yeah, it took me a while to figure that out, and it honestly just took a lot of screaming live. I just started screaming certain things live because I would get tired, and I was like, man, this song is hard to sing, because, I write difficult stuff, and then I do it live. And if I'm not 110%, some stuff just gets hard after like 6-7 songs. And then I'd be like, okay, well, I'll scream here. And it was, I would never bail on like the signature stuff that people I know, they're like, oh, hit that note or whatever, but just like a line that would take my breath away before a chorus. I want to hit the chorus hard, I would trade in scream, and then I just got better at screaming because I would do that and play around.
Yeah, that definitely does make sense. And again, just like from the vocal aspect, it's great to see that you're letting all the different styles that you want to show off really start to come through live and in the studio, and of course in the future as well.
Yeah.
Well, once again, thank you for taking the time to do this interview. I've been waiting to talk to you guys for a few years now, and it was a complete honor to be able to sit here with you and be able to have a very real talk about music in 2016 and everything that's going on with Affiance. And I'm hoping things will go the way that it's supposed to in 2016, and you guys do land a great North American tour and getting the global exposure from touring again. Before we go, is there anything else that you'd like to bring up that I haven't brought up yet?
Well, just, grab our EP, it's $7 and it's available at all digital retailers and physical from merchnow.com, and all the money goes to us because it's independent. Check out the video for Reboot. It's a cool video. I get my ass kicked and I get brainwashed. What else? Oh, also, if you know any of the guys in After the Burial, tell them to take us out on tour. And we'd love to tour with those guys.
Oh, that'd be a great tour.
Oh, that's it. Unless there's anything else.